Okay, so today we're diving into a world where aging, well, it's a choice, not a given.
Yeah.
We're talking digital consciousness, immortality, that sort of thing.
Right.
And we're cracking open this new novel, The Man Who Stopped Aging, The Legacy of Eternity.
It's a good one.
It really is. This first chapter, I have to say, really sets the stage.
Oh, it throws you right in there.
It really does.
You're right there with William. He's our guy, and he's about to go beyond aging as we know it.
Yeah, he's about to take this leap of faith
You could say that.
into digital existence.
Hmm.
But here's the thing that I find so intriguing. He's already nearing his 9th decade.
Oh, yeah?
So it's not like he's some young guy trying to outrun death.
Journey. He's lived.
He's had a long life.
Yeah.
So what makes someone like that take this plunge?
Yeah, that's the big mystery, right?
Right.
Solheim, the author, he's so good at that, just kind of leaving you hanging.
Yeah.
But we see William going into this lab, high tech, all that, and you can just tell he's nervous, but excited too.
Right, like a good nervous.
Yeah, exactly. Good nervous.
Right.
And then there's Dr. Archer. She's like the brains behind it all, this neural digitization thing.
Right, she's like the pioneer.
Exactly. And you can practically hear those futuristic machines humming, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's like stepping into a sci-fi film.
Totally.
But, and this is what I like, it doesn't get bogged down in all that technical stuff.
No, he keeps it moving.
Solheim gives us just enough to make it believable.
Plausible, yeah.
Yeah, like when he describes mapping Williams' connectome, which, and I didn't know this before,
Gee, wow.
is basically like a detailed map of your brain.
All the connections, yeah.
All the connections, yeah.
Like a fingerprint, but for your mind.
It's fascinating.
It is, and that's where it gets really interesting because he ties it to memory.
Oh, right?
You remember that part where William's about to get scanned and he's thinking about Lena and Sarah?
Oh, yeah, those names, they stuck out to me too, even though we don't really know who they are yet.
Right, exactly. But it's like this hint, right?
Yeah.
Deep emotional connection there.
Yeah, maybe even loss, considering William's age.
Makes you think, right?
It definitely
If you were in his shoes,
yeah,
facing who knows,
a little uncertain future.
would you be clinging to those memories too, those key moments, those relationships?
Absolutely. But then it also brings up all these other questions.
Oh, for sure.
Like, does it actually capture those memories perfectly?
Right, like how accurate can it be?
Yeah. And even if it's a perfect copy, can a digital copy ever really understand the weight of those experiences?
The emotions, yeah.
Yeah, the emotions tied to them.
That's what's so brilliant about Solheim. He doesn't just throw out a cool idea and leave it at that.
No, he goes there.
He uses these details like William focusing on Lena and Sarah to really make you think about the bigger picture.
Yeah, the philosophy of it all.
Exactly.
And it reminds me of how scientists now are actually working on those brain-computer interfaces.
Oh, yeah, like in the real world.
Yeah, in the real world, things that could let us, I don't know, control technology with our thoughts.
Wild, right.
Which, like, decades ago, that was pure science fiction.
Totally.
But now, it's getting closer.
It's on the horizon.
Right.
Yeah.
It's edging closer and closer.
That's what makes The Man Who Stopped Aging so gripping. It takes these really out there concepts, but grounds them in a way that feels, I don't know, possible, but also a little creepy.
A little unsettling.
Yeah.
And then there's that line from Dr. Archer.
Oh, yeah.
She mentions something about William's lifespan, right? How he's lived so long.
Unusually long, yeah.
And that it might be linked to some experimental treatments he had in the past.
Ooh, suspicious.
Right.
Sounds like there's a story there.
And ethical dilemmas even.
It's like he's dropping these little clues.
It's like a breadcrumb trail.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's going on?
Yes.
Is there something more to William's decision?
Yeah, is it just about living longer, or is there something else pushing him to do this?
All right, something from his past.
Sneaky.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, totally.
And I am hooked, I have to say. What do you think, listeners?
Yeah, are you hooked too?
Intrigued by these little glimpses into William's past.
What's your take on his decision?
Yeah, would you do it?
And don't forget, we also find out that Dr. Archer, she's going to analyze William's genes.
Oh, that's right, to figure out how he lived so long.
Right, the secret to his longevity.
Could there be some unexpected consequences from this digital transfer?
Because of his unique biology.
Yeah, it's like Solheim is setting us up for this deep dive into life and death and what it all means, you know?
Yeah, what does it mean to exist, really?
And we're just starting to explore it.
Buckle up, listeners. It's wild to think about, right? Like, we talk about uploading our minds, but what about our sense of self?
Right, like when we leave our physical bodies behind, what happens to who we are?
Exactly. And Solheim, he really gets into that.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when we were talking about memory earlier? That's just one piece of it.
Right. There's so much more to us than just our past experiences.
Right, absolutely. Right. There's our physical selves, our senses, the way we move through the world.
And Solheim explores that so well, like in the way he describes the digital world. He doesn't make it this cold, sterile place.
No, not at all.
Instead, William ends up in this perfectly recreated version of his old study.
Oh, yeah, with those windows.
Right, those westward-facing windows that he loved. The book mentions them a few times. Like, it's really important.
Oh, absolutely. It's like Solheim is saying, even in this digital world, we still crave those little pieces of humanity.
Yeah, the warmth of the sunset.
Familiar things, you know.
The things that ground us.
Exactly.
But then there's still this question hanging in the air. Is it really William experiencing all this?
Or just a copy?
Yeah, a copy of his consciousness.
Right, and that doubt, it gets even stronger when William starts interacting with the digital versions of Lena and Sarah.
Oh, right.
He's got these familiar faces, these echoes of his past, but there's this sense of
what?
Like it's not real.
Almost like, have you ever reached for someone in a dream?
Oh, yeah.
And they just, I don't know, slip through your fingers?
It's like that.
The feeling's there, but something's missing.
And that takes us right back to that central question. Can a digital replica, can it ever truly be human?
Can it really feel the same depth of emotion? Experience the world and all its complexity?
Yeah, like what does it even mean to experience something in that digital world?
It's like Solheim is asking us to think about what it means to be alive, to really be present. Like if we get rid of the natural order of things, life, death, joy, sadness, what's left?
Right. What does it mean to truly live when there's no end?
That's a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
It is, and the novel, it doesn't give us any easy answers.
No.
Solheim, he doesn't say digital existence is perfect or a nightmare.
Right.
He just lets us explore it.
Through William's eyes.
Exactly. All the good and the bad.
That's what makes this so fascinating, you know?
Totally.
We're not just talking about some made-up story.
There's real depth there.
We're talking about the big questions.
The human experience.
Consciousness, identity, what's real, what isn't.
It all comes down to what really matters in the end.
Right. Is it how long we live or how deeply we live?
The memories we carry, the connections we make.
Those are things worth thinking about for sure.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, I'm amazed at how just this one chapter. It can make you think so deeply about things.
The power of a good story.
It's really incredible, isn't it?
It is. And, you know, sometimes exploring these fictional worlds, it helps us appreciate our own world even more.
Our own fragile, precious existence.
Exactly.
It's funny, right? Like William goes through all this trouble to recreate his study perfectly.
I know, right? Down to the smallest detail.
But it's those westward-facing windows that he focuses on.
It's like they symbolize something, you know?
Totally. Even in this digital world, he still craves that connection to the natural world.
That feeling of the sun setting.
Makes you think, what would we miss the most if we ever ended up in a similar situation?
It's a good question, isn't it? What little details would we want to make sure we brought with us?
But for William, it seems like even with this perfect replica of his study, he's still struggling.
Oh, yeah. He can't quite shake that feeling of something being off.
Right. Remember that part where he talks about the sunset?
Yeah, how it's technically perfect.
But it lacks warmth.
It's like he knows deep down that something's different.
It reminds me of like looking at a picture of someone you love.
Versus actually being with them.
Exactly. The picture might be a perfect copy, but it doesn't have that spark.
That energy.
It's like Solheim is saying, maybe our limitations, you know, the things we try so hard to overcome, maybe those limitations are what make us human.
It's a pretty deep thought when you think about it.
It makes you look at this whole idea of digital immortality differently.
Right, like if we take away death, take away the natural order of things.
What's the point of it all? What does it even mean to live?
Those are some heavy questions, and the best part is, Solheim doesn't pretend to have the answers.
Yeah, he's not trying to preach.
He's just exploring, right alongside William.
And that's what makes this such a great book and such a fascinating discussion.
It's gotten me thinking, that's for sure.
We're not just talking about some fictional world anymore.
It's about all of us, really.
It's about what it means to be human in any world, in any time.
And whether it's even possible to separate the two, the human and the digital.
It's been a great deep dive, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I've loved getting into it with you.
Me too. And for everyone listening, seriously, check out The Man Who Stopped Aging.
You won't regret it.
We've only scratched the surface here. There's so much more to unpack.
And who knows, maybe we'll revisit it in the future.
But until then, Keep those questions coming. Keep exploring these big ideas.
And most importantly, keep diving deep.